How you guys doing? Welcome into Rover Sports. So let's talk about Joe Judge. And he basically yesterday made the players and even the coaching staff run laps yesterday. So there's going to be positives and negatives to Joe Judge. The negatives about Joe Judge, if he starts to lose games, people are going to say that Joe Judge is a tyrannical dictator. They're going to say that this guy is an a-hole. This guy sucks. He's not a player's coach. He treats the players like they're in fifth grade, just like Sterling Shepard said, I haven't run laps since fifth grade. So Joe Judge is going to take a lot of hate because the media members, they all want to be pro player. Everybody wants to be sympathetic towards the younger player. They don't like owners. They don't like coaches, especially really strict coaches. This is the era of players coaches right now. This is the era. The Sean McVays, the John Grudens, the Kyle Shanahans, the young hip coaches. And I like McVay and Shanahan. I like that style. And if I was a head coach, my personality is more towards the McVay range than maybe the Joe Judge range. But for the New York Football Giants specifically, I prefer the Joe Judge style. And if I were a player, I'd like Joe Judge. And here's the thing about Joe Judge. So again, the negatives are if he loses games, then all of this is going to come back to blow up in his face, just like Matt Patricia. They're going to say you're trying to be Belichick, you're trying to be a hard ass. And that's what they're going to say about Joe Judge. If the team doesn't win and if the players rebel. Remember Landon Collins getting on Dave Gettleman? That's going to add up if the Giants don't win games. That kind of stuff. But from a fan's perspective and from a Giants perspective, I love what Joe Judge is doing because Joe Judge has a high ceiling. Either it's negative like I talked about and the team doesn't really buy in and the 5 years of Judge is not successful. But I'm giving this guy at least 5 to 7 years. I don't even care. I would give him 7 years. I don't care. I want Joe Judge here for the next 12 years, okay? Because here's why I'm so confident about Joe Judge being great. Because Joe Judge, there's several reasons why I think Joe Judge is elite. One, he doesn't listen to anybody. He doesn't give a shit what anyone thinks about him. Okay? He's running these guys in practice because if he was nervous, if he was like Pat Shermer or like Ben McAdoo, he would run these soft practices. He'd be worried what the media thinks about him. He'd be worried about his image. Shermer was soft. And when the Giants went to go play the Cowboys, when they got to go play the Redskins and the Philadelphia Eagles, they would lay down and that defense was undisciplined and soft. Ben McAdoo was just a straight-out jerk. He treated the media like complete crap. He wasn't classy at all. And I wasn't proud to support Ben McAdoo one bit. And he didn't respect Eli Manning, and he didn't respect history whatsoever. Pat Shermer, a much nicer guy than Ben McAdoo, he wasn't capable. He had low energy. He was stale. He didn't care about the defense one bit or one iota. He didn't have control of the roster. Joe Judge has his fingerprints on every part of the roster. Every part of practice is mapped out. Very meticulous. Now, the thing that Judge has to understand is that he's a very type A personality. And he needs to be able to get along with type B people. He needs to be able to know when to push back and when to have a laugh and when to relax. That's the thing about Judge. But I'd rather rein in a coach than Shermer, who's incapable of having this level of intensity. So you look at Tom Coughlin, right? Well, Michael Strahan said, I hated Tom Coughlin, the first 4 years of Coughlin. It was only the last year that finally Strahan said to Coughlin, come on, let us have a day at the bowling alley. And when Coughlin did that, the players were like, holy shit, this is incredible. And then they started to rally around Tom Coughlin because it's always easier to pull back than it is to, let everybody have their freedom, let every player do what they want, and then suddenly be like, come on. Because then you're being inauthentic. So Joe Judge, every part of practice, if you listen to the guy's press conference, I listen to every word. It's electric every single press conference because He is watching every single player. Every single part of the 90-minute sessions is mapped out. Every single detail is calculated, and he gives every player an opportunity. So there are going to be no entitled players on the New York Giants, and there were entitled players in the past. You can fill in the blanks on who those entitled players were that believed that they made it, and that would cause a lot of angst, or would divide the locker room. The thing is about Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and this team, the good news is that there's no bona fide stars outside of maybe Saquon Barkley. And as a running back, Saquon Barkley is going to be getting a lot of carries. So I doubt that Saquon will turn into like a Jamal Adams or return like a heel. And that's the thing. When you're a star player, you always run the risk of being very outspoken. And Saquon Barkley, I don't have to worry about that. I think Saquon Barkley was selected by Gettleman because he is the ultimate teammate, and I'm very confident in Saquon Barkley. So the thing is about this team is that Daniel Jones is going to be like Jimmy Garoppolo. There's going to be games where Jones throws the ball 8 times. His stats are not going to look very pretty. The guy's going to throw interceptions. His arm strength is not like a Drew Lock. It's not a Kyler Murray. Daniel Jones's upside is not to the level of Jordan Love or Tua or Josh Allen at all. But Daniel Jones is going to get by on his intelligence. He's going to get by on toughness, on mental things. And he does have enough ability to play. And he's fast and he's tall and he can make enough throws to win you football games. And he's going to be very smart. So that's the thing about Jones. When you compare Jones to Dak or Wentz, they're always going to outrate him numbers-wise. And I believe the Giants are going to be very successful, but you're going to look back on Jones's career, and when you assess his resume, you're going to say if Jones didn't have Joe Judge, he would not be the type of quarterback that he is. So it's a combination. Jones is a great competitor. Jones is going to be a guy that's going to win a lot of games for the New York Giants. Jones is capable of winning a Super Bowl championship. Joe Judge is also going to win a Super Bowl championship. I firmly believe in my heart of hearts that Joe Judge is going to win a title. I'm very, very convinced on this take. This is the hill that I'm willing to die on, is that Joe Judge is going to be an elite head coach in this league. And Joe Judge is the most specific head coach. Every part of the roster is managed by Joe Judge. He's the GM. He's the head coach. He is everything all-encompassing. And Pat Shurmur was not everything all-encompassing, and neither was Ben McAdoo. And the Giants, the way that they win, the way that the Giants win is by physical, smash-mouth football. And it's also by hard-nosed, old-school approaches. No cheerleaders, no bullshit. Very just matter-of-fact, Bill Parcells, real tough shit every single day. And just being the tougher team. Lawrence Taylor, we're going to kick the living shit out of you style football. Defensive, pass rush. It's not this kind of California, LA Rams, Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to throw the ball all over the yard to beat you. That's not Giants football. So Joe Judge is not going to work everywhere. He might not work in a San Francisco. He might not work in a laid back West Coast style atmosphere. He works in a northeastern city. He works in New York City. And he's going to work with the New York Giants specifically because the Mariners are going to give him runway. And again, this is an organization Joe Judge is going to work. He's not going to be a media darling whatsoever. He's going to be the opposite of that. People are going to look to throw stones at Joe Judge. They already don't like Joe Judge because they already came out and said that the Giants should have hired Eric Bieniemy. They already said that the Giants should have looked at hiring a guy that had more experience than Joe Judge, like a Mike McCarthy. That's what the media already said. They already look at this guy as a wide receiver coach, as a special teams coach that didn't deserve the opportunity to head the New York Giants and to be the Giants head coach. So I love what Joe Judge is doing. the key for Judge, and again, Joe Judge is kind of like the bad cop in this situation. He has Freddie Kitchens and Jason Garrett. Those are two really, really nice guys. He has Sean Spencer. These guys are good people. Patrick Graham. These are not kind of these bad cop, really strict people. These are good people. You really think Jason Garrett is like this kind of dictator, like really strict character? He's not. Jason Garrett is the yin and Joe Judge is the yang. They're the yin and the yang. And that's why this is going to be a really successful team, because Joe Judge knows that his personality, he's a very serious guy, and that's why he's going to have the nice people to offset him, like a Jason Garrett, who's always the good cop, who's always like the therapist that you can go talk to. That's what Jason Garrett's going to be. Sean Spence the same way. Just salt of the earth. Joe Judge is tough, he's Philly, he's nasty. But you have Jason Garrett, you have Sean Spence, and these other guys to offset his kind of really strict policy. So, and the cool thing about Judge is he already said these guys are working really hard. We're going to push back practice today. So as long as Joe can have that kind of empathy that he needs at times, as long as Joe can sense that the players are kind of to their wits' end and when to pull back, that's the key. He needs to be a psychiatrist in a couple of ways. If players are not, if players are getting worked, getting stressed out, Judge needs to show a sensitive side if he's truly going to be one of the great ones. I'm confident that Joe Judge can do that. I want to thank everybody for watching this 12-minute video on the New York Giants on training camp, and I cannot wait for the season to start. Thank you for watching Rover Sports.